Hi, my name is Trista Scholes, and I did my photographer profile on Ansel Adams. So to start, Adams was born on February 20th in 1902. He was born in San Francisco, California, to a fairly wealthy family. It was actually old wealth, his generations before him wealth, but they unfortunately lost their fortune in 1907. Ansel was mostly a landscape and nature photographer. He was kind of an oddball when he was younger, so he ended up finding joy in nature and taking walks at a super young age, which later inspired his passion for nature photography. A lot of his photos have a lot of focus on shadows and like the general lighting, as exemplified in the picture here. It's got the sunlight coming through behind the mountains, illuminating that kind of middle portion, and then going down on the rocks, creating a bunch of shadows behind the rocks as well as on the front face of the mountains. He did actually play piano before he took photos, though, and his first photo that was actually like a real photo was taken in 1927. He was influenced by Albert M. Bender, who was a writer, and Edward Weston, who was a photographer. His contributions to photography: he was actually the principal photo consultant for film camera companies such as Polaroid and Hasselblad. He actually developed the zone system, which is on the right-hand side, which was used for exposure and development, and that helped future film photographers create a photo that matched like the values and tones that the eye would have seen. And he actually produced 10 volumes of photography manuals, which are considered to be the more widely used and recognized of photography manuals that have been published. Some of his photos that I personally really enjoy are the Tetons in the Snake River. I think the lighting in this photo specifically works really well. The highlights on the river as well as the shadows along the trees pull the photo together. Leaves in Glacier National Park, which is in the middle, I think has really nice tones and highlights on the leaves. And then the dogwood blossoms, I think, just has a really nice value and contrast in comparison. The white of the flowers really stand out in the dark background. And these are just some of his other photos. We've got rose and driftwood, another leaves photo, and a couple of others. One that stood out to me when I was looking was the old California Street firehouse, which was the only like architectural photo of his that I could find. Obviously the rest are more nature oriented. I personally love the shadows in his work. I think a lot of the, like in this photo for example, a lot of the lines that create shadows on the faces help to create a really like interesting photo, which kind of goes to the next point of every one of his photos has an intriguing composition. It's like everything works together, creates for something interesting, like the political pictures on the left compared to the circus posters on the right, both are even, they're like connected in a way. I also think that he follows most, if not all, of the photographic principles like harmony, balance, contrast, and he does it really well. If I had to pick a dislike, my one dislike would be that some of his photos start to blend together because they do have a bunch of similar values and tones, which is kind of to be expected from somebody who solely shot in black and white, which was also to be expected from the time that he was shooting his photos. So it's not really a dislike as more of a, he shot with what he had at the time. In comparison, my photographic style tends to be darker photos with strong lighting and shadows. So Adams' strong shadows throughout his work have influenced some of mine, even though I mostly shoot portraiture. I wrote a paper on him when I was first starting out in photography and looked through a lot of his works, and I think a lot of his shadows have kind of been how I have shaped mine. I personally think there's a lot to be learned from his works in general. He has a really strong technique, and he definitely had an eye for his subject and subject angles and the way that he shot and the things that he shot. I think all of his photos worked really well for the time that they were shot in, even today, which says a lot about his works. So I think that looking into his works and his photos and even his 10 manuals of photography could be really beneficial, especially to a starting photographer. And there's my source. Thank you.